Hey guys, welcome to Red 50. Thank you for tuning into another video. If you're new to the channel, thank you for stopping by. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about some of the S650 Mustang renders based on the spy shots we have seen, and why I'm really disappointed if those renders are to be accurate. S650 Mustang had a lot of spy shots leaked early this year, but since then it's been radio silent on any news related to the new S650 Mustang. While we were all excited to get the spy shots, it was heavily camouflaged, making it near impossible to extract any details out. Only thing we could really tell somewhat was that the body looked really similar to the current S550 Mustang, which is not all that good. Well, thanks to a couple of the renderers who took the matters into their own hands, they developed a render based on those spy shots for the S650 Mustang. Now I want to be clear, I want the S650 Mustang to succeed and would love to add it to my channel, but so far nothing promising has been shown. With that being said, let's try to look at those renders. Okay, so now we will look at these renders and kind of discuss why I'm not all that impressed by these S650 Mustang renders. I mean, to be honest with you, my original plan was to pick up the S650 Mustang once it was going to be launched. I was like, maybe give it a couple years, so the first few years on the new platform, all those quirks are kind of settled down, and then I could purchase one and, either trade the S550 Mustang I have currently or just have both on the channel, which would be amazing. But as more and more I see these renders and the spy shots, I'm thinking maybe the change is not going to be drastic enough, which may make sense for me to keep this current Red 50 and not have to worry about the new Mustang unless they really change it up and make it look promising. Alright, so the first render that we've got here, you can see this render utilized the S550 Mustang body and incorporates the design elements from the S650 Mustang spy shots we have been seeing all over the internet. You can see the major differences, the headlights here. It resembles the headlights design borrowed from the Mustang Mach-E, which is the SUV version, and it also means that the front lights can be sequential like the Mustang Mach-E, which is actually going to be really awesome. We already got the tail lights being sequential. Having the front lights being sequential as well would add a lot of cool factor to the Mustang S650. Overall, I think the front appears to be a bit more cleaner with the body lines being smoother. It's definitely less busy than the S550 Mustang or the current Mustang generation, but that just also makes it a little bit boring. This is not supposed to be a luxury car. It's supposed to be aggressive and brutal. It doesn't have that same aggressive fascia as we're used to seeing from the post-refresh models of the S550 Mustang, the one I currently own. I have to say I definitely like the sculpted lower grille area, but overall the lower grille, in my opinion, just looks very tame for a Mustang. I can dig the whole sculpted look, and that's more of a luxury kind of look, but for a Mustang, it doesn't seem all that exciting. It just seems a little bit boring for the Mustang. Again, my overall gripe with these renders is, or any of the spy shots leaked that we have seen so far, that it looks too similar to the S550 Mustang, which is a design that's already 8 years old at this time. I can't even believe the S550 Mustang has been out for 8 whole years. While it still looks really fresh and really exciting on the road, it could use a little bit change, especially in the interior segment. We should be able to see a lot more changes with the new Mustang coming in. I mean, these renders could easily pass as a Mustang refresh as opposed to an entire new generation, which could mean that there may be some advancements to next generation Mustang, but if it's sitting on the same platform with the similar body, it may use a lot of the S550 Mustang bits, which isn't all that exciting, and as a car enthusiast, we're not going to get the new and exciting product that we were hoping for, especially given each Mustang generation has evolved significantly in terms of their shape, which means the entire chassis is, done completely from ground up. Even if the chassis is the same, the body is different, which means there's no reusable parts. I mean, yes, Ford decides to use some of those parts over and over throughout the generation, but overall, when you sit in, let's say, I don't know, a New Edge Mustang, S197 Mustang, and S550 Mustang, there's just a drastic difference in terms of the interior, the exterior, and how it has a road presence for each of these individual cars. But at least with these renders, it may seem like that it might borrow the similar body from the S550 Mustang, which obviously isn't that exciting. I'm hoping these renders are completely inaccurate, but that's what we're going off of currently, especially with the spy shots. Now take a look at this. Here's another render based on the next gen Mustang. In this one, I'm not gonna lie, the front reminds me of a Ford Taurus, which is not a compliment for the Mustang. The headlight design from these renders somewhat mimic what we have seen on the spy shots, which look like it's a little bit different than what we're used to seeing. It definitely looks new and refreshing, but seeing how it may tie out with the rest of the body language, I feel like it's not going to pan out too well. Now the lower half of the grille seems to be very similar to the previous render we saw, which was like the sculpted look, which I said it does look somewhat good, but it's not as aggressive that you would kind of expect from a Mustang. It just looks overall tame and boring, is how I would describe it personally. But again, these are just the renders, so I don't want to be drawing any conclusion based on these renders, which are based on the spy shot that are heavily camouflaged. So basically what we're seeing in these renders is just the vision of the artist that they can see from the spy shots, which again is not much you can really extract out of those information. Overall, I think it just looked very similar to the S550 Mustang, which was my original gripe with this whole thing, because I want the S650 Mustang to really succeed. I want to buy one, but if it's very similar to the S550 Mustang, I think it's going to have a lot of potential buyers. I mean, Mustang sales have been declining, so a refresh model like an S650 Mustang, like a new generation, would really help Mustangs sell well. But as we're seeing currently, it's just pretty much very similar to S550 Mustang. And I feel like that could be that Ford wants to take the Mustang electric with the significant push that we're seeing on EVs, and Ford wants to invest heavily into EVs, but they feel like the buyers are just not ready yet to transition from the hardcore V8s to the electric motors. And because of that, maybe Ford doesn't want to invest all of that money into a new V8 or maybe just a completely new chassis. They just want to use the same chassis, similar body parts, and even though it's going to be called the next generation Mustang, it might be more of a refresh as far as available options and features and the exterior and interiors are concerned. And maybe, overall, as we get closer to 2025 or 2026, when it's due for a refresh, Ford is going to slowly launch the hybrid V8s or maybe just full electric motor Mustang GTs, which obviously will be very, very fast, and we would love to have all that performance. But I feel like owning a Mustang, you just kind of have to have the sound. I mean, the brutal exhaust of the V8, it what keeps most buyers into the Mustang community. Mustangs have always sounded very unique in their own muscle car wars. Really hope Ford really unveils something official. I mean, we are like about a week away from the Mustang Day, which is the 470, which is when they first did the unveil on the S550 Mustang. So there is a good chance, while there may not be a more of a detail or spec leak, they might at least just reveal some information about the S650 Mustang, so we can kind of have proper information from Ford directly instead of trying to extract out all the information from these spy shots, from these renders, which these renders, credit to them, they have done amazing work, but there's only so much we can decipher until we get official Ford information. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what are your thoughts on the S650 Mustang. And as always, subscribe to Red 50 for more Mustang content.